CRN Wilder here. Let me tell you about my guest, Kimberly Dvorak, DVORAH. She's award-winning National Security Board and Security Investigative Reporter for TV, radio, and the print media. She is the Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Policy. She is also a TV correspondent, CW6 News San Diego, as well as One America News Network. And her website is thekdreport.com. Kimberly, off of the golf course, and you're ready to rock and roll with Chucky Poo here. Right?
It is leading into there's no greater way to start the 3-day weekend than being on with you right now.
Wow, let me record that. Okay. Hey, listen, we're going to talk about the CIA's cozy relationship with UAE.
Yeah.
Time permitting, there's another report here about the War of the Futures here. And Kimberly, I just read a story on the news about Israeli military documenting the Iranian efforts to build up the Lebanese terror organization with a guided missile arsenal. So we'll get to that and much more here in a minute. The CIA, now that's an upstanding organization, right? Why do they have a cozy relationship with the UAE?
Yeah, well, this is an interesting story. It's kind of just started slowly coming out and gaining a little bit of attention. One would think that the UAE is actually just kind of the junior for Saudi Arabia, but they are very religious. They are tier 2 human trafficking violators according to Human Rights Watch and the UN. They're all on the list for banning women from doing things. It's okay to beat women. You can have multiple wives. All of the typical things. But and they also, when people go out to protest, they usually end up dead. So it's a very violent country, a very right now wealthy country, and one would think, since they're partnering with the Saudi Arabians, that we may want to know a little bit about what's going on inside UAE and how they're using the intelligence that the United States government is providing them. And what's going on is shocking.
Well, you mentioned here about Bush, and you say that he lured the Middle East regional politics.
Yeah.
Lured the Bush administration into false hope. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is that most people in the Middle East are Muslim. I mean, that's just a fact. There are very few Christians. Other than Israel, there are very few Jewish enclaves around the Middle East. And what the Bush administration felt after we had that huge success in Afghanistan and getting out the Taliban, that hey, we're going to give these people democracy. We're going to give it to them. And instead, these countries, they don't want democracy, but we forced our will on them, thinking that they would be, come on in. We really like you. We want you to come down and show us how to vote and have big concerts and long weekends and drink and blah, blah, blah. That was just never the case.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Take a puff. It's not going to hurt you, right?
Exactly. So this is a situation where, over the last 18 or 19 years now, we've watched, the U.S.'s popularity within the region is all but shot. And, I hate saying that we have actually created more terrorists with what we're doing, but we actually have created more terrorists. That's something the Barack Obama administration talked about. And I know a lot of people kind of cringed when you made that comment, but it's actually true, because now we've got drones flying over people's homes, and those people happen to have children, and they're growing up scared to death that is my house going to be the one next that gets blown up? So all we're doing now is creating future enemies on top of that. And when people look at war, it's, war's ugly. And you can't give people something they don't want. And unfortunately for the Bush administration, they may have gone in with, the idea that this was going to be great. Little girls are going to be able to go to school now, and women were going to be able to drive. Jobs would, come and just, appear, I guess, out of the sand. But that didn't happen. And that left us with a very poor relationship with much of the Middle East, in a region we don't even need. We're a net exporter of energy. We don't need the Middle East whatsoever. This is more Europe's problem than it is our problem. Yet we're the ones fighting.
Right now we're number one oil gas exporter.
Yeah.
Tell me about the NSA employee, Lori Stroud.
Yeah.
And, what's the name of that project, Raven?
Yeah. Well, this is a program that started with a number of former national security agency spooks, and they went to the UAE to set up a program so they could help the UAE people collect intelligence, and using the computer, like what happened with Studnex. That's a great example here. They've taught them how to go in and probe and attack computers of their enemies within the country, their enemies on the outside of the country, and Americans. So now that they started spying on the Americans, you had a few of these employees come out. Now, Ms. Stroud is the only one that went on the record with this. So, the other people that were involved with sort of a dozen or so former NSA employees, but they were still working for the U.S. government. And they were providing, the UAE with the state-of-the-art equipment and technology, and how we actually track people through cyberspace. And when you look at that, I mean, who are we giving this to? We shouldn't be shocked that the UAE decided they're going to start looking at Americans and stealing their information and probing and breaking into America and our defense industry and our cyber technology and all of this stuff. The average person would go, yeah, you know what? They're not a great country. We probably shouldn't give them that information, because they're probably going to down the line want to use it against us. And that's exactly what happened here. And they continue to use this. And now they've actually gained all the knowledge. And now they're hiring, more agents around the world to work for them. The UAE is hiring cybersecurity experts. And because they pay so well, they have a lot of people that are working for them. So, this is something that could be catastrophic for the region, but also towards America. How foolish are we, especially going into Labor Day weekend here? Taxpayers work incredibly hard. We're spending billions of dollars on a country like the UAE. It's very alarming to see this.
And you mentioned a couple of other things here, like Cyberpoint, providing sensitive defense technologies to a foreign government, and then the Dark Matter Group.
Yep.
It almost sounds like we're giving them more than we're getting,
Yeah, we're not really getting too much from the UAE. Our F-16s, and they are buying our Black Hawk helicopters. But the owner of Dark Matter, that's the organization that actually they bring in $2 billion a year for mobile devices, cell phones, and they control 40% of the cell phones that are sold within the UAE. Now, if people are buying those cell phones, one would presume that they come equipped with backdoors for these people to target their enemies like they do. And then they go on, they arrest them, they torture them. Some of them die from torture, or they just simply execute these people. So you have the UAE government that's a part of this, basically. And they're actually getting, these cell phones, are getting out across the Middle East, and people just don't know. The average person there doesn't know. I didn't know until I, did the research this last week on that. They have such a big network, and they, represent 40% of the cell phone industry in the Middle East, which is staggering. That's a lot of people, and that's a lot of information, and it's a lot of, information that any government doesn't necessarily need to have, but especially when you have a brutal regime like the UAE, they use it to their advantage to take down their opponents and ensure that they will be dictator for life, which is exactly, or monarchy leader for life. Yeah.
Why are they escaping all this U.S. inquiry?
To be honest, I don't know why they're escaping this, because when you talk to people about it, they're like, no, it's a little country, we don't really worry too much. Nobody will give you a straight answer. They just give you these non-denials, which means they know about the program. They're not going to talk about the program, And, it's similar to what we've done with the drones. Well, we haven't even told the public. I mean, you have not heard from a U.S. official out there saying that, yeah, the U.S. has drones. We're surveilling. We're bombing people virtually every night all over the globe. And, that's a secret. So that's not even on the record anywhere. Yet we all know that we have drones. So this is kind of a similar situation, I think. And I think at first, possibly they thought that they could get inside information that would be helpful for Israel or Turkey. And it hasn't been. And we haven't got anything. And this is why you have several of these employees come out and speak to the DOJ and speak to the inspectors general, because this is essentially a program that has run amok and is, really, red face on, the, CIA for not picking up and knowing. Maybe that was their plan along. I don't know. I don't know what, the CIA obviously is not going to, come up and call journalists and say, hey, we got this and this is what's going on. That's not the case. But, you've got to question, okay, what was the leadership thinking over there that this was going to be a good operation and that they weren't going to use this against America? And I mean, for that question alone, I mean, several people ought to be fired over there for that alone. I mean, of course they're going to they hate us. I mean, for the most part, a lot of these people, they just hate America. After 19 years of war, they really hate us. So I don't know who thought it was going to be great to give that information out, but we did.
Yeah, it's propaganda, indoctrination.
Yeah.
Mind, I don't know what. And going from religious war. Okay?
Yeah.
You put another posting out about the war of the futures here. We got only about 4 minutes before the break. But this is very interesting, listener. I'm going to let Kimberly run with this, but you kind of wonder, what are we preparing for? Not for, okay? Who and what? Yeah, what are we preparing against in future wars? How's it going to happen? Like Kimberly will point out, it's not going to be a whole bunch of men running across the border with guns.
No.
Go ahead.
No, it's not. I know a lot of people mock President Trump for saying that he's got the Space Force. He's starting the whole different unit, so it's going to be a whole Space Force. And most commentators, make it sound like this is, Star Wars. It's not true. It's science fiction. This doesn't happen. But actually, this is where the next war will be fought. And it does. Who controls the space? Not even the air. Who controls the space is going to be where this next war goes. The United States, as everybody knows, we have Canada to the north, who are too polite. They aren't going to go to war with America. And then you have Mexico, which, if we really needed to take action against them, we could. So that, for us, that leaves us in good standing, because if there's any kind of ICBM missiles that fly over, we have about 20-30 minutes to respond. We have really good satellite technology that will blunt any kind, for the most part, a lot of different attacks that people may think that, they can do. But moving forward, the future of wars is going to be fought by robots. People, laugh at that. Well, they will. They will be fighting against robots. They're also doing what they are preparing for are these drone swarms. And this is where a whole bunch of little drones can swarm an F-16 or, some of the higher tech airplanes that we fly and our allies fly. And it would be kind of like the bird strikes that hit the plane where Captain Sully had to land it in the river, and when we look at that information, that is where our enemies could actually kind of, at least ding us a little bit. So this makes.
Well, let me tell you something real quick, Kimberly. I had a guest on just recently talking about how China, their number one military thing right now is outer space, controlling satellites, shooting them down, all this other stuff, and brought up the thing about, if you have a naval task force, the Chinese now have the capability of launching drones or whatever.
Yep.
It goes out, over the center of the task force and does an EMP attack.
Exactly.
It cuts down every single thing.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a number of times here on your show, and that's exactly the future of war. It's going to be fought through cyber means, asymmetrical warfare. We're not going to be sending a whole bunch of troops on a ship over to the Middle East and maybe Africa, if that's where the next cluster of wars is to be fought. It's simply not going to happen. And a lot of these planes, they're going to be getting the technology. I mean, they already have a lot of technology with these planes, but they're going to be pilotless. In the future, we're not going to have a pilot in a plane. We're going to do like we do with a drone. There'll be somebody sitting at the base, wherever it may be in this country or overseas, and they'll be operating these planes and doing these missions. That's how the future of war is going to be fought. And to give countries an inside track as to what our technology is. I mean, yeah, that used to be criminal, but I guess with James Comey and all of that stuff now, no more crime to do things of that nature, and that should shock a lot of Americans.
Yeah, I got to tell the listener, I love what you wrote. We're talking about they're not going to storm over the borders, and the same reasoning, she says, applies to any Russian armies massing in Siberia across the Bering Sea from Alaska. Because why would that not work?
Yeah.
Kimberly says because Sarah Palin would see them coming. She'd tell them. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back. Kimberly Dvorak, you talk about cyber, right? And it's like it's invisible. Okay,
Yeah.
That's probably the word I'm looking for. And I wonder, does size matter when it comes to hacking? I mean, you do it from one computer to another computer, or if you put it on a drone, you could put cyber hacking on a drone, I guess. I mean, over my head. Hopefully they're all.
No, I mean, drones now, they come obviously with Reapers, being the size of a small airplane. Now they have technology, and actually China's really kind of mastered this technology. And I just put a little thing on Facebook about this, that, they make insects and bugs and they're drones, and they're collecting information. They're collecting data. They're listening to what you're saying on your Labor Day weekend. They've come up with that technology. So again, this is more information and just another way that a foreign government can come in and wreak havoc within the United States. And I think that most people, don't even think that we have that technology, but we do have that technology. So that's why the future war is going to be fought very, very differently. But as far as the cyber warfare, they're, basically, the Five Eyes are allies. We share information within, each country about what the next possible attack may be. Cyber is very difficult to detect, and how they go about breaking into these computers, that like they broke into U.S. government computers. There was a story out yesterday evening about, someone, they don't know who it was, had broken in successfully. And they do things like they put viruses in emails. We all know this, that they'll put a virus, and if you open the email, it happens to do this, then it attacks your computer and shuts everything down. But they've got all your information, and your, identity can be stolen, or whatever government is doing this will be able to procure information that they normally wouldn't be able to do without being in America. And these drones, obviously, they don't have to be in country to use them. And if they're doing cyber attacks, which China does on a daily basis, and then they steal the intellectual property on top of all of that, that costs Americans a lot. And it's also it's a quiet little virus that goes through. It's not, you don't see the bombs, you don't see the lights, you don't see any of that. And it makes it difficult for us to fight against all of that.
Well, and it's sort of like every once in a while, your computer will say, hey, so-and-so, we just blocked, something,
Yeah.
whatever. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I always think about the fact that as far as newsworthy, for some reason, when the Chinese hacked the Pentagon, when Obama was president, it was like, you hear it 2 weeks later, some people are just now hearing it for the first time now. And look what they're doing now with Siri and Alexa, they're always listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, and you're never... Pretty soon they're going to be able to read your mind, and then that's it. It's done.
I guess so.
Got to get the tinfoil hats on.
contact lenses. Who knows?
Oh my gosh, you're brilliant. How did you know that?
Yeah, what? Wait a minute, I got a buzzing sound. Hey, listen, have a great Labor Day weekend, and Kimberly's going to be back on her regular schedule. She used to come back every Monday. So we're giving her a little time off. She'll be back the 9th, okay? So thank you very much, lady. Appreciate each and every
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.